Welcome to today's vlog. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've been watching these vlogs over the recent weeks and I don't know, 2 or 3 months, you may just remember that some time ago when I was talking a bit about my early life, I mentioned that I was born in a little village in the East Riding of Yorkshire, a little village called Caingham. And I managed to buy on eBay very recently a postcard of the village, or a little shot of the village. And this one has particular significance for me, and I want to talk a little bit about the significance. So there you are. On the right hand side is the chapel where we used to attend every Sunday, and on the left hand side is the shop that my mum and dad used to run. In fact, you can just see the last 3 letters of the word Clark, L. Clark. My dad's name was Len Clark, so that was the village shop which my mum and dad ran, and we lived above the shop. You can see some of the bedrooms there, and so that was a little village, and you can see that we didn't have very far at all to go to church on a Sunday morning. And that's brought back so many memories for me. And of added significance is that the message on the back, well, it was sent to somewhere in Lancashire, but the date this was posted was the 10th of July 1960, when I would have been just turned 5. And that has a real significance, because on one Sunday when I was 5 years old, and I can't remember, I don't know the date, it might have been around that time, we went as usual as a family, my mum and dad, my 4 elder sisters and myself. My little brother Phil wasn't born at that time. He was born the following year. We went along to chapel, to a service at the Methodist chapel. And I have no idea, no recollection at all of what happened in that service. But I know that when I came home, crossed back across the road, what I did was to go to the stairs that led obviously from the ground floor up to our bedrooms. I knelt down on the stairs, and as a 5-year-old little lad, I invited Jesus into my life. I gave myself to him. And although I never had a time when I didn't believe in God, or I was brought up within the life of the Christian church. My family were Christians, and we were very much involved in the life of the church. I was in Sunday school, and that was a significant moment. That was a commitment. The first time I said to Jesus, Lord, I want you to be my friend. I want to give my life to you. I want you to come and live in me. And sometimes we forget that children can have very real spiritual experience and faith. Now you might say, what does a 5-year-old understand of the things of salvation, of God? Well, probably not all that much, but Jesus calls us to put our trust in him. And sometimes children can be far more trusting than adults, because adults sometimes put all sorts of things in the way of trust and faith. Well, that was the beginning for me of a journey through life that has seen all sorts of experiences. And I can tell you now that in the intervening 60 years, there's never been a moment when Jesus has left my side, when he's abandoned me, even though there have been times when I've almost abandoned him, when I've not been faithful, not been as I should be, when I've hurt him and hurt others. And yet he's never stopped, he's never given up on me, he's never stopped loving me. He's been faithful to me all through the years, and that is my testimony. Now, of course, from that early beginning, I've grown and developed step by step, slowly sometimes, more quickly at other times. Sometimes I've perhaps gone back a little bit and then moved on again, because being a disciple is to be a learner, someone who's growing and developing in faith. So I'm going to add that postcard to my collection, and I've got a few postcards of the village which I've collected over the years, but that takes me right back to so many happy memories where my faith was nurtured and grown. And I want to really follow up that by saying that we need in the church to do much more, I think, to value children and young people who are part of our church, and to recognise that it's not just about adults giving to children, but it works the other way too. And it was very significant, I think, when last Sunday's service that was on the internet from Holy Trinity Brompton, which is a big Anglican church in London. They've got quite a number of satellite churches around the country, and Holy Trinity Brompton is internationally known as the where Alpha began, and the kind of fountain of Alpha that has affected, touched, influenced so many lives over the years. And Sue and I really enjoyed the online services from Holy Trinity Brompton on a Sunday morning during this lockdown. And they've had some fantastic speakers, including Nicky Gumbel himself, who was the head of Holy Trinity Brompton, but some other great speakers. But the significance of last Sunday's service is that the message was not given by some internationally renowned speaker, but by a young girl called Sophia, who is just 11 years old. She is a member of Holy Trinity Brompton, part of the church family there. And the fact that this great, well-known church should give 11-year-old Sophia opportunity to speak, to give the message. It was a message about hope. And I think a lot of the hope for the church is in our young people, in our children. And we need to really recognise the tremendous giftings that children can have. Didn't Jesus say, unless you become as a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven? And that's really significant too. Jesus himself lifted up the children, didn't he? He valued them in a society that didn't value young lives so much. So I'm a kind of living proof that God works in people of all ages. A 5-year-old lad who was as shy as anybody, and yet God moved in his life and has led me and developed me and helped me to do things which I could never have done in my own strength. Not at all. And so let's value our children. Let's pray for them. Let's encourage them. Let's nurture them. Let's give thanks for them. Let's do all we can to watch over them, bless them, and allow them to grow and flourish and to recognise the gifts in them. We've got a very good friend called John who for lots of years has been instrumental in the nurture of our own children in their younger days. And for a time he was our lay worker when we were in Stoke-on-Trent, and John used to have a group of children. He used to take them and really develop them, their prayer life. They used to pray out loud. John used to really help them to engage and to flourish and to use their own gifts and to recognise that age is no barrier to serving God, to being used by God in his service. So God bless you. Rejoice in our children. Allow them to grow and flourish. Pray for them. Encourage them.